This panel is called Traditional Media versus New Media. Now, we're still in the Arab Social Media Forum, except that we're going to bring a flair of traditional media to this. Now, let me welcome my guests. Zahra Zayyad, Senior VP OTT and Telco SN. Lina Matta, Director of NBC2, 4, Max, and Variety. Pakinam Olama, Managing Partner at ATC. Marwa Kabour, Head of Marcoms at Al Masoud Group. We have Michel Zre, Head of Editorial, Aflam Production. Michel is going to be joining us through Zoom, and I think he's ready.
Hello.
Okay, I can hear you, I can't see you, but. So Michel is here with us, so that I just welcome him. Hi, Michel.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm very good. So thank you for joining us through Zoom. You're the only exception today, but I mean, exceptions exist. All right. So
yes, because we have the National Day here in Riyadh, so basically it's a total mess and there's a lot of things to do. So I wish I can be with you in Dubai.
All right. So we're going to get started. We have 50 minutes for us here, and we have 10 minutes for the audience. Please stay engaged with us. We want plenty of Q&A. That's the last panel, so we could take all our time if need to. So we're going to start a little bit with Lina and Zahra. Let's see how it goes. I mean, I really want to focus on how you guys expand your audience through linear and VOD. I know you don't have linear, but they do at NBC. So I'm going to start with Lina. And I'm really very curious to know, Lina, how do you preserve the content of NBC2, 4, Max, and Variety, and NBC content in general, while you guys have the same content offered on Shahid? The question is, does this help you expand your audience, or does it kind of cannibalize it?
The good news is NBC2 and Max are movie channels and therefore don't really exist on Shahid. And we have a movie offering so that if people go, there's a whole bouquet of Western and other stuff and movies. But movies is not one of Shahid's big offerings. So NBC2 and Max are still doing fine.
Just, Lina, bring a little bit closer the mic so that we can hear you better. Yeah.
No, I don't want to hear my voice. It's a bit freaky.
No, it's good.
NBC4, what we do is it's like ping pong. So a lot of the dramas that we have that are long-running dramas, if they're like maybe 20, 30, 40 episodes and above, we'll play them 24 hours in advance on Shahid, and then we'll have them on NBC4. So what happens is, if you're somebody who watches them on NBC4, then you know that if you really, really want to see it and you can't wait and whatever, you can subscribe and either catch up on everything that has passed by, or see the episode that's coming one day before everybody else, and then you have bragging rights. So, but it's like a ping pong thing. We help get the message of Shahid across to a much wider audience, because the Shahid audience is still, it's growing exponentially, but it's still very small in comparison to the NBC4 audience, which is, the entire Pan-Arab region. So they use us to expand, and I think we're going to start.
I like the term "they use you" to expand.
Yeah,
they use you for a good reason.
They use us for a good reason, and we're going to start putting QR codes on some of our shows, so that if people are interested in the show, they can get. Maybe they'll have. Let's say we're in season 4. We have now Anisa Farah coming up. Anisa Farah is on season 4. There'll be a QR code saying, if you want to catch up on season 1, 2, 3, you can watch it on Shahid. If you want to see an episode ahead of your friends, you can watch it on Shahid. If you want to catch up, so they'll use the QR code to send them to Shahid to encourage them. But if you don't have the money for Shahid, or if you have, already your 6 OTT services that you subscribe to and don't want to subscribe to another one, you can still get it for free on NBC.
So does it help you expand your audience, or does
it totally helps us expand. We did an experiment a while back. Anisa Farah season 1 we had played concurrently with Shahid. Season 2, Shahid played it 3 months ahead of us. They didn't do that well, so we went back on season 3. We did the 24-hour window, and it helped expand the audience for both.
Interesting. So Zahra, for you, it's not like linear versus VOD anymore, because you guys took VOD to a totally different level. And I mean, you have gaming onboarded. But the question is still the same. With gaming onboarded, do you kind of endanger your audience or do you grow it? And how is the synergy going between the viewer and the gamer? And is the viewer a gamer? Like, what's going on in here?
Yeah, gaming is just one of many things that we've done, and it always depends on the monetization strategy that you have across your different platforms and across your target segment as well. So at OSN, we operate linear channels, and that's subscription-based through our DTH base. We've got the OSN movies, kids, Yahala, whatever. And then we have the OSN streaming app that runs similar to Shahid. Now, why did we launch this app? Because the viewing behavior of people have changed, their needs have changed, and they're more going into binge watching. And when people go into that binge watching experience, to keep them on the platform, you need to give them content that they are prepared and ready to pay for.
Excuse me. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so giving that customer content that he's prepared and ready to pay for, and that's the monetization strategy here, requires premium content, and premium content that resonates and fits the needs of that customer and that segment. We operate in a market that is very, very young, very tech savvy. And from what we've seen in the behavior of people on social media, on YouTube, we've seen that a lot of our audiences are creating content related to esports, related to gaming online, and you see a lot of viewership on icons in the gaming world, just taking videos of them playing the game and so on. So we wanted to trial it, we wanted to test it, and we wanted to see if it resonates with the kind of base that we offer on streaming, because it's a much younger base. And then we expanded the pie, because if you assess how people utilize their data packages when you subscribe to Do and Etisalat, where is the network going? What people are using it for? They're using it for games a lot. And we've seen that the utilization on gaming of data, the utilization of data is 50 times bigger than the utilization on any piece of content. So this is why we decided to experience and test that area as part of our strategy, a strategy that is driven towards an entertainment hub, because entertainment is no longer about movies and series. It's much, much, much more than movies and series. It's gaming, it's sports, esports, music, etc.
Yeah, that was quite intriguing, because when we talk about NBC, originally it was a leap of faith to have Shahid and to think about it as a competitor. But when you really understand the viewer, you know that it helps like the synergy of the viewership rather than cannibalization. And the same applies to OSN. I mean, you could have perceived gaming as a competitor, but rather it's complementing it and the synergy is there.
Yeah.
I think what they're doing very quickly is, for instance, we have radio, obviously. So, for instance, we'll do podcasts about the series that we're doing. We will use each one of the different platforms that NBC has towards. Same with gaming. You can create games around the dramas that you have. So everything kind of feeds into, like, it's an ecosystem that feeds into itself. It's not something that we have to look at as competitors or separate platforms. It's very much one big happy family, and we can all use each other to, promote each other and.
Yeah.
We just compete against each other.
Yeah, you do.
It's a friendly competition.
And it's a nice one.
Sometimes.
And I mean, without competition, we just don't grow. So yeah.
It makes us better.
It makes us better.
It does. Now, Michelle, we're talking about linear TV. and Shahid, which is VOD, and we're talking about a totally OTT platform. Let's talk about content that goes on these forms of content consumption. But the thing is, what we're seeing now, we're seeing a content that is being produced and it's used across platforms and devices. So you have now a content that should be compatible to a traditional TV set or an Apple TV set, an iPad, a personal mobile phone, but also compatible with YouTube, Snap, TikTok. Now, how do you produce content that suits everything? Because I think you should.
First of all, what I'm gonna talk about is something that's really interesting. If you can notice that our screen sizes are shrinking.
They are.
Okay, so when our screen sizes are shrinking, the time spent on our screens is shrinking too. So we used to be on TV for 30 minutes, we now have series for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, etc. The main thing that we were facing as content producers in the beginning 4 or 5 years ago is the high risk of shifting from traditional media to the new media and understanding the new media. What we reached nowadays,
By the way, Michelle,
especially
are they
in Saudi
still
Arabia, because you know in Saudi Arabia,
Right.
it's one of the biggest markets ever of content producers and content consumers also. We've reached the point of something we call a second screen user experience. So we don't produce a proper content for social media as long as we have a very successful content on TV. We recycle this content, but we recycle this content in a way that looks like every platform we're working on. For example, if I give you an example about our job or what we're doing on the national TV, on SBC or on the Saudi TV, we are actually working on some daily shows, and you know that daily shows are like daily bread or like daily content. So you have a huge audience, you have a wide range of topics, but the way we recycle those contents or those types of content for TikTok, for example, for Snapchat, for YouTube, for Instagram, or even the way we stream the episode on social media, we live stream the episode on social media should be very different. But the main thing that we're facing recently is about paid content, monetized content, this thing that was not like really an issue before. So now we're having, for example, segments that are only broadcasted for the show online with no TV intervention. So this is one of the benefits that we are actually having recently with our content on social media. But the only thing that we are kind of scared of, that one day whenever social media is gonna disappear or is gonna lose its, I don't want to say its credibility, it's gonna lose the presence or being a useful tool or medium for us to work on what we're gonna do, how we're gonna operate. Shall we go back to our old basics for TV shows production? Shall we continue? Shall we put new plans, new strategies? This is the thing that we are only, the whole time we're questioning. One of the things that we reincarnated in our productions recently, and you might be shocked, we reincarnated everything that is related to user experience. When I say user experience in television, it's not the UI UX that we talk on over social media and digital platforms. No, I say users' phone calls, user tweets, user videos. So this is the way we are doing a compensation between traditional media and new media over our channels.
Okay, you used the word recycle our content. Now there's nothing wrong in saying recycle our content, but is it like kind of demeaning for other platforms, like TV is the main content and then you recycle it to other platforms? Is that what you meant?
Can you repeat the question, because I have distortions, I'm not able to hit the question very well.
Okay, I was saying you used the word recycling. So you said you produce content for TV and then you recycle it to other platforms like TikTok or Snap. I mean, it sounded to me like it's a bit demeaning to recycle. Is it like recycling or reformatting it, or what is it?
Actually, what we are having nowadays, you know that there is a huge migration of social media celebrities or social media influencers for TV, and in the opposite way, and vice versa also. You have a migration of TV celebrities to social media. Nowadays, to produce a proper social media content needs dedication, and I honestly see, with all the experience and all the content that we saw on social media, there is no, there is not a proper form of formats that you can produce on social media. Hatta sometimes some social media creators or production companies who creates for social media are taking from TV the format itself, the show composition itself, the late night show, the comedy, the music, the whatever. So until now, if you wanna do a dissection for the whole content that is available online, it's similar to the TV content. So why shall I produce new content while I have credible content with credible faces, credible information, and until now, whenever you tell anyone this content was aired on TV or this content was generated by a TV station or by a TV show, automatically there is a way of credibility. Unfortunately, with all what we're living in the Arab world since 2012 until now, is like letting social media losing credibility day after day and transforming social media from, I'm talking actually not from a series perspective or entertainment perspective, I'm talking from a daily content consuming, the way we consume content. Content consumers are on social media are just searching for entertainment. So on TV we present entertainment, we present informative. Why not recycling this content and displaying or airing it again on social media?
So Zahra and Lina, what are your expectations from content? Do you agree with him? Like with the recycling, and how credible your content should be, and to which extent would you compromise on the production of your content?
Well, we're a subscription-based platform, so people have to pay us money to be able to watch the content, and hence the content has to be really premium. So we cannot compromise the quality of the content at all. However, from our point of view, we like our customers to watch content on a big screen, on the TV screen, because from what we have seen, from the pool of customers that we have, that customers stay longer on the platform, they stay with you, their average lifetime on the platform is longer when they are watching on a big screen. So big screen is still driving engagement of subscribers and of customers. Now, utilizing different formats of a certain piece of content on different platforms is also important, but it also depends on what do you want to do with that content. Today, if you're putting content on social media, then you're trying to monetize it through attracting ad sales, right? You want to attract advertisements, you want to attract viewership, and this is how you monetize it. On our side, we attract subscriptions. This is how we monetize. So for that,
sometimes, Zahra, it's just like on TikTok, we have it, but it's not even monetized. So.
Exactly. And hence, when we put it on social media, we reformat it. No, we don't recycle, but we make it shorter. And this depends on our objective, right? So if we want to increase viewership, then you can't put an episode that is 30 minutes on Facebook. You have to adjust it. You have to pick up the lead scenes, and you package it. You put it in certain number of seconds.
Yeah.
If you want the ad,
you have 3 minutes on TikTok now.
3 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, but from our side it doesn't exceed the 5 minutes, because otherwise then it's a full episode, and people pay money for that. It's really premium content.
Yeah. So Lina, what do you think about the content?
Listen, I think NBC now calls themselves a content creation company rather than, I mean, our platforms are, it's not about that, it's more about creating the content. Not just creating the content, but also having all the rights for it. Yani, since we have 18 channels and we have the different platforms, we want to be able to take that content and use it and abuse it as much as we can. So, before we used to do windowing, now it's about having, creating our own and then being able to use it any which way we want. I would use the word maybe reversioning rather than recycling. And then back in the good old days, what one used to do is would take something and just pluck it on the different media and think that this is going to work. Obviously, each of these mediums or each of these platforms have their different identity and a different way that consumers consume them. So I think we have a generation now of people, first of all, who've grown up on these social media platforms and have become a lot more savvy about how to optimize them. So we will use bits and pieces, but we will not, and they will be curated or reversioned to fit the audience and to try to not cannibalize the platforms. And for a while, we used to put, almost everything, like we would have an entire episode of, let's say, Arabs Got Talent on YouTube. Why are we giving YouTube that when we want people to come to Shahid? So we might put little highlights or teasers but it's become a lot more scientific than it used to be before. Before it was just like, we need to exist on the platforms. We were all trying to scrabble to find out what these platforms are. You had people who were, in their 40s trying to figure out what people in their, 20s or 15, 12-year-olds were figuring out. So, it's become a very different game now. People are now
more strategic, I would say.
Much more strategic.
Yeah. So that's the broadcaster side, the VOD, the OTT. Let's see a bit and we've seen also with Michelle, the production. Let's see a bit now with the agency and client side. So I'm going to be asking you questions for both of you now. And still, Lena and Zahra, please stay with us. So, Pakina, you come from a client background, and now you work for an agency. You're a managing partner. So you do really understand what the client needs. Now, how do you manage to convince the client when you're optimizing a certain media plan that it's not only about digital solutions? Because it's very easy to go this route. So how do you really still manage and balance? And I don't like to use the terms traditional media and new media because there are no more traditional and new media. There are different forms of media. So how do we incorporate all forms, and how do you convince your client knowing how the client thinks?
Yeah, that's interesting. So basically the way the media evolved, it was very quick. It didn't give the agencies or the clients enough time to know how we will face the future challenges, specifically with the pandemic year. The pandemic year was very challenging, I'm sure, for everyone. From a content standpoint, production, with the big hit of the global entertainment scene as well, and how things got affected. And of course, from a client side and the drop of sales and all of that. But across the years, the thing that we have to stay consistent or very much focused on is that at the end of the day, we're talking to the consumer. At the end of the day, we were very much at the beginning of the shift from the traditional to the digital. We were very much doing splitting, that's on a page and digital comes on a completely different phase. And here where came the mushrooming of the specializations, the rise of so many agencies, and the need from the clients to go and deal with multiple agencies at the same time. Things got so lost, and at the end of the day, it lost the taste of having a harmony or an omni-channel strategy. This is what we want to focus on. At the end of the day, what we are selling is we're tapping into the consumer across the journey, and the journey is non-linear. They might listen to a radio ad, and then they might be watching a YouTube video that's an invitation for them to go to Shahid or to OSN or to any of the other media channels to consume
or to the linear TV.
Or to the linear TV, exactly. Yeah. So at the end of the day, our job is that whatever kind of assets you are promoting on any platform, it has to grab the audience attention. This is one thing. It's an invitation for them to consume more content wherever the content is. And this is where comes the content distribution optimization. So recycling of content or even regenerating more content, this is not it's not something wrong, no, but it's you're giving the audience the content information in the way they are in the appetite to consume it. If they are on a small screen, so definitely you will not be watching a full episode on a small screen. If you are like going through the news feed, and the change of the algorithm of the platforms as well made us learn a lot of things about the consumer and what they are in the mood to consume. And at the end of the day, how you tackle the entire media plan. And here comes the role of the data collection, the data understanding, and how you plug it in and you make this kind of optimization so that you are always tapping into the right channels. At the end of the day, there was a very fast shift from TV to digital at a point in time, which was a bit immature or irrational, because we were only after digital without having the right content, without having the right ecosystem or hygiene for the brands. So it got the consumers a bit lost or disconnected. At the end of the day, the brand data and any kind of information that they have about the product, it's something that needs to be openly shared with the agency so that you do the right brand research about brand elasticity, because certain brands still require having presence on linear TV. Yeah. So we have to admit it. And other brands...
What categories are they?
Maybe if you want, I can tell you, since I come
I'm coming to you,
from
but go ahead
B2B and a B2G. There are brands, especially those that are very non-digital in their nature, who are still very much in need for the non-digital media as well.
You might be surprised that some of those brands, they are targeting a very young audience, but it's the nature of the brand and how receptive or how sensitive it is to mass advertising. So at any point in time, you find like an interruption in this advertising, there's a loss immediate in sales. So these kind of brands are usually the brands that doesn't have a strong loyalty, or doesn't have a strong top of mind, because at the end of the day, they play very much on the price elasticity, on the POS. So this is where it needs always the push, and the push has to come on a mass medium, be it television or outdoor. It has to be complemented, because at the end of the day, we're talking to a non-linear consumer exposed to a lot of touch points, and you need always to complement the story that the brands have to give, be it trying to get a lead, and at the end of the day, we're talking quality leads, not any kind of lead would count as a lead, or you want to continue to have a top of mind, or you want to relay a certain message or drive on engagement. So this is very important from a content production standpoint and from a planning standpoint, and of course, having all the information that we can get from the client to continue on the optimization job.
The thing is, there's one more thing. Digital solutions are not as affordable as the client sometimes tends to think, if they are like done the right way. That's the other trap that everybody falls in. So I'm gonna still discuss more things on this front, but let me hear from Marwa. She's the client, and you do the marcoms of a big group, Al Masoud Group. Now, as a client, how do you, if you're doing it directly or through an agency, how do you really make sure that you don't go through the slippery road of a 90% digital campaign? Because we're seeing this happening a lot.
We see this happening a lot, and I'm more than happy to share in the open many circumstances and scenarios where we do listen to the agency and we do go down the digital route, and it just doesn't work. So maybe I'll give you a recent example that just happened with me this very week. We are the authorized dealers of Nissan in Abu Dhabi, and we've just landed a government contract where we will be servicing the fleet of a huge ministry. We need to onboard 200 car mechanics within the next month. So we went all out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn convinced us that people who are in the blue-collar segment are on LinkedIn. We went out on Instagram, we went out on Facebook, and we did not get the leads that we want. We then went to traditional print media. We've put out car mechanic advertisements in the Filipino Times, in Al Wasit, in your very hardcore traditional media that you think has died off. And guess what? We got our applicants. We got the exact type of applicants that we wanted. So in a way, what I'm trying to say is, with all my respect to agencies, agencies do get swept away with the platforms, do get over-influenced with, the platforms trying to convince them that digital is the only way forward. Where as a publicist for one of the oldest family businesses here, and we do construction, we do power, we do automotive, we do logistics, transportation, you really need to understand your customer. Let's be very honest. We go back to the basics. Understand who your customer is. I have a business that generates over hundreds of millions in a year, but we have one customer. I can't name that customer. It's a government body. I can't reach them through digital. I have to go to the traditional media. I have to have my news on validated news avenues like the dailies, like the local weeklies, and I need my news to be created by verified and credible journalists, because that's how I can maintain my own reputation. So I believe that traditional won't really subside. It will just take a different form. And from what we see today, the traditional media has a higher source of credibility and validation. So when it comes to segmenting your audiences, you really need to be true to who your customer is. And like you said, sometimes customers or your customer or your client is not very transparent on who the customer is and don't do the customer persona exercise. And the agency comes back with, your cookie cutter kind of media plan. Let's do a bit of Facebook and a bit of Instagram, but maybe a bit of that.
Sometimes it's the other way around. And here, Buckingham, correct me if I'm wrong. You would tell them, I would need to put your ads on NBC, and they would go, no, I just want a fully digital campaign. Now this is the challenge. What do you do in these cases? Now Marwa, is it totally on the different, on the other side, on the other side of the spectrum because of the category of what?
Yeah, but we do automotive as well, and automotive is B2C, and in this case, we would love to be on NBC as well.
So what do you do in this case?
Actually, your point or what you're saying makes perfect sense, because at the end of the day, one strategy doesn't fit for all. Even if you have one brand, but this brand is communicating different offers across the year and talking to different audiences. So at this point, let's say you needed some sort of affinity media where you needed to talk to same language, you needed to be more specific. And with this target audience in particular, they need to see the advertising or the promotion in a mass medium where it makes them feel that it's credible. Definitely LinkedIn wouldn't do the job, with all my due respect to all platforms. But at the end of the day, some clients, they would feel in this region in particular that it's safer to be only after digital and the big global platforms, even when we are trying to push to some regional media platforms, or even trying to produce some content or native advertising. So they push against it because, at a point in time, the industry got so much as well intrigued after the glory of the awards. So everyone wanted to communicate big case studies where you have like millions of views and X number of reach, and you're crossing all the campaign KPIs or benchmarks without really checking the bottom line if you achieved your core objective of the campaign. Yeah. So most of the awards, that with my respect to the awards, of course, but most of the awards at a point in time were given to brands who didn't achieve the KPIs. So at the end of the day, we have always to find the right mix. We have always, it boils down to the job of reaching to the consumer, of having all the data that you need around the consumer. There is shortage and there's a gap in this region about consumer data. Yes, we have to admit it. And this is where you need to collaborate with the client on having like any kind of proprietary data or tools or research that you need to run, or get from them all the historical data. And this is something that we face with most of the clients, where you didn't have the proper foundation of a proper CRM to get the historical data. So whenever you are shifting or doing a pitch between the different projects and moving between agencies, things get lost in translation.
They got diluted, that's how
you don't keep track, and this data is money. haram in losing this data, because you invested a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money, that when you move between agencies, you get them to repeat the job from the very beginning. And when your job is, at the end of the day, getting leads or sales, you need, for any kind of campaign, an awareness phase. And when you cut this awareness phase because you don't have all the data that you invested in at the beginning, definitely the campaign results will be affected. And going back to the platforms, and actually from an agency standpoint, what you are doing, even if it gets like cannibalization of the audience that you have from television to the platforms, but I believe that you're building to the future, because it's not right that we only look at the consumer now. I truly believe that television will never die, because globally they are ahead of us like millions of years, but still television still exists. The format of buying television, of advertising on television changed, which is something that we might be expecting at any point in time in this region. But at the same time, having those kind of platforms gave us as well some kind of a locally strong VOD where we can push advertisement behind outside of Ramadan. Because if you saw all the regional productions, we have a lot of local productions that we don't leverage as much as in Netflix, let's say. So these productions were mainly concentrated around the month of Ramadan, where you have limited time for a household. What can you watch? So what you are doing right now, and with spreading this content all year long, and sometimes maybe on an NBC you do this kind of A/B testing, some sort. You launch it first on Shahid, and if it succeeds, you put it on an NBC. So it's working well for us as an agency and advertisers to find the space where we can advertise on those VOD platforms outside of 1 month from the entire year.
Go ahead, Zahra.
I think I would like to voice the voice of a client as well. Same for you. We play both roles. So we have clients advertising on our platforms, but we also among the biggest spenders on social media and on other platforms. So it really depends on your objective from what we've seen. And agencies usually try to push a lot of digital-only plan because they also get rebates from the platforms.
Just
because they've got a pool of customers and so on. But you as a client and as someone running this business, there is a sweet spot, and in digital and performance marketing in that world, you're pushing that traffic to achieve a certain objective, which is acquisitions and sales, etc. So you're pushing that traffic into the funnel, and then it goes at the end of the funnel and it converts into a sale. But at the end of the day, this funnel dries out if you're not filling it up all over again. And filling it up is the awareness part. And this awareness part comes through different mediums. So you've got to invest in different mediums to be able to fill up this funnel all the time. And these different mediums go between traditional as well as digital. So, and this is the kind of sweet spot that you've got to find, and the right mix between awareness and acquisition and sales.
Now comes my best part, the freestyle question. It goes to everybody, including you, Michelle. You're still with us, right? Yeah. So how do you see the traditional media? I don't want to call it traditional media, but just for the sake of just labeling it now. How do you see it like happening more in the future? Is it going to still be endangered further with the digital solutions, and same applied for VOD platforms, OTT platforms? Or do you think that at a certain time this will stabilize? What do you see next? And in terms of content, Michelle, what do you see happening, like in terms of catering to these platforms?
I'm going to tell you a story. Sorry. Do you want to answer, Michelle? Okay.
Because we have the gap with the sound.
Okay. If we want, I'm really sorry, I have a total mess at the office here. If we want to talk about the future of traditional media, none of the media platforms or the media outlets have vanished all throughout the whole years. We had so many troubles, so many crises with the printed in 80s, with the radios when TV came back, when actually TV did this huge impact on the society. We had before also a crisis with the TVs, and we all know the crisis with the TVs when suddenly digital media content appeared. I don't believe that there is something called traditional media is gonna vanish. Nothing is gonna vanish, but everything is gonna be like canalized, or it will has more a niche audience of everything. For example, one of the ideas that came into my mind while I was listening to my colleagues in the panel is that digital media is now giving new opportunities for new talents, for entrepreneurs also, for new journalists, for new content creators to have their own space or their own area to create their content that on TV, we don't say it was not allowed to create this type of content on TV, but the basic thing is that TV won't let you produce freely this type of content. So when I say in the next 10 years, in the next decade, in the next 20 years, then nothing is gonna vanish. Everything's gonna settle up. We now have so many printed outlets that collapsed, such as printed magazines, newspapers, who actually went into the wave of digital, but nothing is gonna vanish. All will remain, all will stay, and everyone has its own characteristics. So when I say this, I say that when you have a magazine, it has its own characteristics, has its own feeling. Whenever you read an article in a magazine, it's totally different than whenever you read it online. Or even the relation that is built between the reader or the content consumer and the content producer is also very important. One just more thing, I don't want to be so much late on you with my part.
Yeah, we still need to give everybody a chance.
I have been working for the past 12 years in media. I've experienced very traditional media and very new social media. I've experienced both of them. You know that the impact of you being in a traditional media makes you more famous or more renowned between people, more than being on social media. Because on social media, you wake up tomorrow, you're gonna have someone who has thousands of followers, who's basically less known than you, but he has some more engagement. He will be known tomorrow, but the day after, you're gonna have another content creator. The credibility we have in the traditional media, and I guess Nada from Al Arabia knows this very well. The credibility and for us as content creators or as journalists, it's totally different whenever you're in a traditional platform. It's more credible. You have your fan base. I remember really well that there are so many people or so many readers that used to tweet me that where is the article of every Wednesday in this magazine, or where is the cover feature, or where is whatever.
Funny enough, like I had a conversation with a friend. She's a big influencer. I'm not gonna name her. She's got millions, and she goes, "Lucky you, you go on TV." And I'm like, am I the lucky one? Lucky you. You've got millions of followers, so we don't know which is better. They're different. But in any case, it seems your production is safe. You're gonna still be producing TV. Go.
I'd say we had an interview with a group of people a while back about what they watch and how they watch it and all that stuff. And in the Middle East is still very much of a social, like family gatherings. People get together over the weekends. And what you get on TV that you don't get on the platforms is that you get curated programming. So if they're all sitting together and trying to figure out what they're going to watch, on Netflix or OSN or even Shahid, they have to oh, I saw this. No, I don't want to see this. And so they spend about an hour trying to figure out what to watch, versus turning on the television that's offering you something curated that you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy. So when it's family viewing, we still get a lot of that. TV channels now are available streaming on the different, so if you can take it with you wherever you want. So you can have an NBC4 on your phone if you happen to want to watch whatever happens to be playing on NBC4. I just wanted to say a little example. We did Arus Beirut, which was one of the most
Oh my
successful
God, yeah.
dramas that
It was in
of the last
top
few years.
programs, like, for
And
long.
we did some research on season 2 to see if we want to do season 3. And it was very interesting that people loved getting together as a family at 9 p.m., you know, in the evening, together to watch Arus Beirut. They knew that they could find it on every other platform, but there was something about people getting together and watching something and being able to talk about it immediately with their friends that we kind of lost along the way. And then you realize that when you get something like this, that it still works. So
I mean, we still see this pretty much in Ramadan. Like, we,
Yeah.
in Ramadan, yeah.
It's the excitement to wait for something. So you have,
Yeah.
let's say, when you open the NBC2 and you find a movie that you like,
Yeah.
you get so excited while you have access to watch it at any point in time on Netflix
Completely.
or on any other VOD.
Yeah.
But it's the surprise element. And as you said, it's a moment where the family gathers
Yeah.
or friends or anything. When you do like a night out, I used to gather with my friends to watch Arus Beirut, and we were waiting for season 3.
There you go.
So these are like, it gives some kind of connectivity. And this is what entertainment is after. At the end of the day, we have to stop thinking that TV and social media are contradicting or competing, because at the end of the day, it complements each other. As you said, that most of the social celebrities, they are now moving to television, and they are after running their shows and being on television, even if it's not on the most premium segment. TV still gives the glory. At the end of the day, who doesn't want to be interviewed on a TV station at any point in time? Still, it gives you the glory. It gives you the credibility.
it has authority.
It has authority. Yes, of course. It's a key authority.
And credibility, all these.
I think credibility plays a major role. I think in the future, what will be defined as traditional will be what is very credible, validated, and has that authoritative tone. We still see print, we still see that TV has extra filtering and layering, which makes your content a lot more credible, hence broadcast on those channels is a lot more expensive. I think you just need to complement the funnel that you spoke about earlier, and maybe as a marketeer use the funnel hyper niche, hyper segment, and then as a publicist you need to switch the funnel to a megaphone and decide which channel gives you the biggest amplification you need. And we take, for example, Twitter. It was called the newspaper of the White House, and that's because the president wanted to be on Twitter. So he kind of switched the channel to a traditional one in the sense that he gave it that authority and that credibility at his time of presidency. And I think this is what the future definition of traditional versus non-traditional will be.
Listen, I just want to go back a bit I mean, you have people who are working in these industries who are professionals in what they're doing, right? So for instance, something like an NBC2 or an NBC Max, if you switch on that day, and you like that first film, I'm keeping you all night, because I know that if you like this film, I'm going to offer you 3 or 4 films that night that are in the same genre of that film. So I'm sucking you in for like I have people who will say, you kept me up till 3 a.m. last night, I wanted to go to sleep.
It's the algorithm by experience.
Yeah, and
Not
that's
the automated algorithm. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, there's something about the people who behind the scenes. It's true that they're not allowing you to, you know, choose what you want to choose and see what you want to see, but they know to some extent, you know, what works, and that's why they're there.
And Lena, in terms of programming, it's a technique. We call this tent polling. Like,
Right.
you know that's going to spill over the next one and the next one. And when it happens, like,
No, and NBC as a group tries, you know, they have at this point 18 channels, but you have like 6 or 7 of the main channels that are doing complementary programming. So if you don't like you know, you start on one and there's a Khaliji drama, you don't like it, we can offer you maybe a Lebanese drama on NBC4, maybe, you know, a news show on, you know, so it's like, we want to keep you within the group by allowing you to flip through everything, and then you can go to.
so yeah. All right.
So, adding one point on the cost, yes, face value television would seem to be more costly, but if you compare the cost per reach, definitely there is nothing that matches the cost per reach that you can get on television. So this is, as going back to your original question, when you mentioned that certain clients, they don't have the budget to go behind television, because yes, you compare it like, apples to apples.
But now, Pakanam, you work for an agency, and the rate cards are not as crazy as they used to be, right? For TV, I'm talking. So it's no more what we had in mind. It's like digital is affordable. I'm not gonna say cheap, and everything traditional is expensive. And if you want to put on a double-digit program on TV, then you gotta pay a fortune. It's no more the case.
Yes, things are more flexible. The buying itself got to be more flexible, but I don't think only it's about after the cost, but I mean a television burst would get you to be active on digital for a longer period of time. So it's about as well maintaining this kind of activity and presence for a longer period that you cannot afford it on television, while maybe the impact of a television campaign, even if you go on, off air, would stay longer.
Yeah.
There's also the spillover effect for brands that are geographically contained within certain countries. For example, Al Masoud is the largest conglomerate in Abu Dhabi. So I'm kind of confined to what TV in Abu Dhabi would be, because anything beyond the territories of what I can contractually sell will be a spillover effect. I would be benefiting my competitors in the other region if I do that. So we still have those cases as well.
Yeah, you do. It changes by emirate, but not much, because I do analyze lots of data. So I see that, yeah, it does. But it's not like it's like from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1, but it does change.
I think from our side, what the future holds for us on both on advertising media as well as on us as a platform, I think it is mainly catering and foreseeing the future customer behavior. So people who are watching on linear have this lean back experience, whereas those on VOD are more in control. However, taking that experience, that lean back experience into the platform and offering an interactive platform, utilizing AI, artificial intelligence, and customer data and technology to enable these features into the platform and give that customer the experience. And then advertising on TV as well, there are many features that could be added to the linear channels to stimulate impulse buying. So in the world of e-commerce, media and e-commerce have become now, overlapping. As you're watching the content, since you have the mode of payment or the payment method of the customer, if he sees an ad, you like the product, click here to buy, and we automatically charge you from the background.
Yeah, it's very high.
And then we deliver. So there is a lot that we can integrate and we can learn from technology and integrate in the media business and the advertising business overall in the future.
Yeah.
We have a show, sorry, very quickly, that we just produced called Beauty Match. And Beauty Match was a makeover show that ran for 5 days a week. And it was always sponsored by, I think the first year we had Namshi, and the second season we had Lips.com. And the idea being, one, that if you liked what you saw, you could immediately go and buy it on these platforms. So it allowed for some interactivity, even though it was a show that was on linear television. And then we had an element of it in the second season where viewers could vote for who they thought should have been the winner. Because the show itself chooses a winner. But then so we're trying as much as we can within, there's not much that you can do on TV per se, but there's a lot that you can do around TV. So I think the second screen experience that Michelle had mentioned is now very much part of how we think our shows.
Engagement, convergence, you're trying as much as possible to implement this, even for linear TV.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much, ladies. Thank you very much, Michelle, if you're still with us. We come to an end for this panel, and
Not
I
yet.
believe for the overall forum, but we still have Q&A.
Okay, so good job, ladies and Michelle. There you go. So we got a question from the panel. So there are entrepreneurs. This question is for everyone, all right? There are entrepreneurs still following traditional media and are in their comfort zones. However, there is plenty of opportunities out there to pitch in for digital transformation. How do you think you can convince them in adapting to new technologies? All right, we'll repeat it again. There you go.
I mean, these questions are coming even more sophisticated than mine. I
Yeah.
thought mine are hard and sophisticated.
Where's Habi? Is Habi in house? Or Habi online? I think she's online. She's watching us online, that's why.
Yeah.
Habi. All right, Habi, we'll try to, if you're listening to us and you're watching, we'll try to analyze your question in a way, unless we can read it again and check it out. If you
I
want.
think I got the question.
You got
but
it?
in my words, so I believe that there are entrepreneurs that their
They're still following
business model
traditional,
is still
yeah.
on the offline model. So how do you convince them to shift to digital, right?
Yes, because they're still in their comfort zone because they cannot go because they're shy, they're scared, whatever, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe it depends on the industry. So at the conviction point, it's the industry where they're operating, where their customers are, who they are targeting, what they are selling, and what is it that they want to get after moving to the digital form. So yes, everyone is now more than ever pushed to get out of the comfort zone, and this is the thing that happened because of the pandemic. Even the big groups, so everyone, like, they are now ahead on their digital transformation plans by approximately 6 years. So because everyone was so lazy and very much around the retail.
STP. It's the STP, segmentation, targeting, positioning. So they follow the STP. They see where their segments are, who they're targeting, and how they're trying to position themselves, and they can then decide on the channels.
Oh, there you go.
I think for entrepreneurs, and speaking of entrepreneurs, everybody starts with the limited funding.
So,
And you know, to attract investors, you need to have a business plan that shows the ambition, the growth, the scalability, and your ability to scale and grow your business. And this scalability is not offered by traditional means. The scalability comes from digital exposure and from expanding way beyond the territory you operate in, way beyond your country. It allows you the ability to expand to the globe, depending on the business you're working on, and then utilize these funds effectively. If you've got a basket of limited funds, then you have to put it in the right place to achieve what you want to achieve in terms of your business objectives.
I like that.
If I might,
yes, Michael.
if I might add something. Guys, can you hear me clearly or not?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I just want to add one single thing regarding the entrepreneurship and online. There are 5 main things that I always tell, because I used to teach for the upcoming entrepreneurs in Balamand University in Beirut, and the upcoming the currency manipulators. I always tell them, whenever you want to be someone who is an entrepreneur, and especially have and hunt for new chances online, 5 basics in this new era. First of all, teach us as audience, create conversation, inspire us, entertain us, and learn from your mistakes. These are the 5 key points that every entrepreneur should know, so he can shift securely with no high risk for the online community.
Could be. Truly. Thank you, sir. Balamand Beirut or Balamand Al-Had?
Balamand Beirut, لا Alba.
Okay. Let's make it that way, Alba. Because then you were in my village. All right, any questions for our lovely guests? Any simple question about TVs, OSN, anything?
Wait, show us
NBC.
some engagement. Come on.
I got thousands of questions, honestly, for both of you. Maybe later on. Not later on, only private questions. But, you know, what we were talking about, you know, comfort zone is truly, yani, do you think, I don't know, social media, of course, could help on that at the same time, even though going up to like TV or like transforming, I don't know, in a way, like the comfort zone? Is it easy?
You know, I think television, we're always trying to push the boundaries and go into genres that we've never done before. But then at the end of the day, some people, we're trying, right now we're doing Ever After, which is a rom-com. There's very few romantic comedies in the Middle East. So we're surprisingly doing a rom-com. You know, it's a little experiment.
Like a
because people usually like drama and they like heavy duty crying and I don't know what. So, But I think we live in a region where we'd like some levity in our lives. It's been a very tough year. We want to laugh. So we're trying as much as we can to push certain boundaries. We haven't done police procedurals. We haven't done medical procedurals. We haven't done... now, with Hell's Gate on Shahid, this is the first time we get into the sci-fi realm. So we're trying to get ourselves out of our comfort zones. I think it was more difficult when you were just working on linear television and you had a certain amount of hours per year, and you needed to sell these hours, and you needed the clients to like what they needed to see familiar faces. They wanted to see the same actors. They wanted to see a storyline that was not too out of the ordinary, et cetera, et cetera. Now with Shahid, which is a hungry beast and is being seen by people from 3 to 90, you have a much bigger pool to swim in. So you can play with. First, they need new every week. So you need to keep feeding them different programming, and they want to try different. And they're reaching a much bigger audience. You're reaching. I mean, we are with television. We have. NBC Sank now that's going into Maghrib. You have NBC Iraq that's going into Iraq. You have NBC Persia for so we're going NBC Masr, which we've had for a few years now.
NBC Bollywood.
NBC Bollywood. But even the channels, we're going after Latin America. We're going after Europe. We're going so
Very localized.
you have a chance now to talk to if you can get subscribers from Brazil. And then maybe you could do a co-production with Brazil, So things that you would never have been able to think about when you were linear. So it's opening up a lot of doors for us. And TV itself also wants to try to push its boundaries. I mean, we did Jane the Virgin adaptation, Anisa Farah, when I was pitching it. People were like, what are you thinking? Why would you even think that a drama like this would work? And it did. And now we're producing the 5th season. So.
Lina, the thing is, you said people asked you, why did you have this series? I mean, I do see figures all the time. This is pretty much part of what I do. I analyze data. And it's like, I always say, a shortcut to success, a good series. This hasn't changed for the past 20 years, seeing data, seeing the same pattern. Turkish series, you brought the success with the NBC4. And it's here to stay. You get a good Turkish series, you're successful.
Direction that we're going, but not just Turkish. We're opening up to the global market of.
You're back to Turkish now, yeah?
Sorry, no, we're not doing Turkish. I mean, on the
I've seen
Shahid
that.
they have, and like the NBC Sank, Persia, and Iraq have, but not NBC One, NBC 4.
Yeah.
But what we've done is we're doing scripted formats, and we're going to Turkey for some. I mean, Arus Beirut is a scripted format from Turkey.
Yes.
Ever After is a scripted format from Turkey. We have 2 or 3 others in the pipelines. But we're also looking at Korea. We're also looking at Latin America. We're also looking at the States. So
and it's
scripted
very
formats
interesting,
can come
Lina.
to you from all over.
Even the young generation on linear TV, they watch series, and it's very intriguing.
Yeah.
I do see this all the time.
There you go.
Sometimes consumers are a bit, the reaction is unexpected.
Yes.
So
I don't think they know what they want until they see it.
at the end of the day, there is at some point what you serve to them.
Yeah.
So some things are like acquired taste. So I believe when NBC Egypt opened and they started to put some Indian drama, there were long ages where there was no Indian drama in the market, and it succeeded very well.
Yeah.
So this was something that the consumer was very much or mainly consuming Egyptian drama. When they got exposed to other kind of genre and other kind of drama between the Turkish, the Korean, the Indian, and all this mix, it did really well. And at some point, let it be in Ramadan, when we sit with the TVs and they come and they present to us the grid and the content, at some points, they put for you a series at an off-peak, and you don't see much merit in the success of one of these shows. And this happened to us when I was managing in my previous company in Egypt. It was one of the shows of Muhammad Ramadan. This was actually his huge success. So we were buying this drama as a free drama after the spots that we're getting in one of the top stars. We got it as an incentive.
Yeah.
So it ended at the end of the season that it was the top-rated drama, and since then he's been the top-rated across the region.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you never
The
know.
recipe of
You never
success
know.
is a bit.
Sah, you never
Right,
know.
You never know.
You never know.
But sometimes the same series change the timing of it and everything changes and change the broadcaster, the platform, and you see everything changes as well.
I remember in that year they changed the timing because they saw a lot of shifts after the first week of Ramadan towards after advertising on this segment, so they had to change it. Because at the end of the day, yes, as you mentioned, that getting out of the comfort zone, so even the grid sometimes is very much typical. You see like, okay, this is the top rated the Saudi drama, you put it right after iftar. Yeah, this is Adil Imam, you put it as second, you know. At some point, you don't give justice to other content and other people. Changing the timing is one thing, which the VODs is giving now the chance for this kind of content to be exposed longer and get the right chance.
You know, I think the people meter issue is the elephant in the room. I mean, it's just something that we've been talking about for years and years and years. People jump on digital because they're finally getting some answers. They're seeing who's watching them, you know, what ages, from what country, whatever. TV needs to be able to give you that, and we
Lena,
have the
come on,
tools that we've not been able to use for years.
Lena, come on, you have your boxes, you just don't publish data, but you do.
Yeah, but that's recent, the boxes, and the boxes are a small sliver of your entire audience.
Yeah, and I mean, they're a bit biased. We're not gonna get into this, but yeah, you do have your boxes.
But I'm betting it's not fair. يعني مثلا the box is coming from a very specific sliver. Especially, and it's unfair for something like an NBC4 that's a pan-Arab channel. You're not getting data from your pan-Arab audience. You're getting it from a very small sliver in one country. It's not fair.
God.
So,
Ladies, as much as I want to keep on standing and talking with you all girls, ladies, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
a little bit
not
tired
fair.
from the morning, I apologize. But thank you, and thank you for Habi. He's been watching us from India, by the way. He's been with us from the morning, so thank you,
wow.
Habi, virtually for
Thank
being
you,
there with
Habi.
us. Ladies, really, thank you, and gent on Zoom. I appreciate your time, I appreciate your talk and everything. Do you have anything to say?
No, I'm really very happy, very grateful. Thank you everybody who has been with us in person, for our panelists, our audience, our virtual attendance as well. And yeah, we do come